All right. Last but not least, certainly not least, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yes.
Anything to say before I get into the players?
As it's pulling up here, I can guarantee you, I forget the exact ratios I have them at. It's going to be the most pass attempts in the league, if not maybe the Rams will threaten them now they've lost Cam Akers. So, yeah, 650 pass attempts compared to 391 rush attempts. It's a 62% pass ratio. That's right in line with what they had last year. So I think it's all going to come down to the arm of the GOAT himself, Tom Brady again. That's the Arians, no risk it, no biscuit style. We did see that start to gel. I'm very intrigued to see what these Bucs do because it seemed like half the year they never were really synced up or on the same page. And then after the bye, Bruce Arians, I heard an interview with him. They talked about him and Brady having this phone call. What concepts do you like that we can work in because it's not working fully right now? How can we practice these things better? And they had a really open dialogue, and you saw the results over the second half of the year. Brady was the QB forward fantasy, just ripping it down the seams, and obviously it carried him all the way to the title by the end of it all. So now that they've gelled like a full season of this offense, as long as Brady still has it at age 44, could be just firework central. I cannot wait to see what it is.
I mean, it sounds ridiculous to say as long as he still has it at age 44, but I mean, he still kind of had it at age 43. So
still did. Still had it. He had more yards per attempt last year than he's had in like 10 years since New England. And that deep ball was looking good. Like,
well, he was throwing to some real receivers last year. I mean,
right.
a lot of it in football is, obviously you still got to have it, but system and complementary players, and he fell into a real good one. Well, it didn't fall into it. He went there on purpose.
Exactly.
All right, let's talk about it. So Brady, you got him 434 for 637. That is a lot of passing for almost 5,300 yards, 44 touchdowns, 13 picks. To me, it's tough to argue with the numbers you've got for him, given the wide receiver core he's got. I assume that you're not even a little higher on the list. You've got him as your QB7 as far as projections and 9 on the big board. I mean, that's an amazing stat line there that we just gave. I guess the reason you're not higher is you're not getting any running out of him.
That's it. Like, he has to hit 44 touchdowns and 53 yards for him to get to QB7. And he's only QB7 with those type of gaudy stats. Like, goes to tell you again, like, the ceiling is capped on any QBs that don't bring the leg points. And there are enough that you have to at least go for one of these running guys. If you pair him with a Brady, go for it. Sure. But yeah, like, that goes to show, I think he could hit these stats and still only finish as the QB7 in fantasy because of the cap ceiling. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk running backs. This is interesting and we do have to. It's interesting and disgusting. So here's what you've got. You got Fournette, 176 for 704 and 6 touchdowns, 31 catches. You got Rojo, CJ's boy, 125 carries for 625 and 5 touchdowns with no real passing game work. And you've got Gio Bernard, I want to say the corpse of Gio Bernard, but it seems like you've actually got him being a real factor here. 70 carries, 287 and a touchdown, and adding 66 catches for 561 yards and 4 touchdowns. As far as projection goes, this shakes out. You got Fournette at 44, Rojo at 54, Gio at 36. I mean, that's pretty bad. That you got a committee there of 3 guys and none of them really doing anything. I mean, you got Gio at 36. It's nothing. On your big board, you got Fournette 43, Rojo 41, and Bernard 46. It's clear you're not too excited about this running situation.
No, not at all. But I think what was interesting there is you said Bernard pops up as the highest value back here.
He does.
He's often going as the last back.
Similar to that Carolina receiving core.
Exactly. And that I've actually ended up with Bernard on quite a few teams because of how high I have him projected as a pass catcher. I think we've heard these comparisons a lot. The next James White for Tom Brady. They didn't really have that check down option last year. Rojo was very undependable with his hands. Fournette was like okay catching the ball, but was so slow and sluggish and not a great route runner. Bernard was like one of the few missing pieces. It's hard to say a Super Bowl team has a missing piece, but Brady has always loved having that complement out the backfield. And they have said, early in camp and OTAs, Bernard was all over the field, catching everything in sight, a high target for Tom Brady. I think that's going to be the case this year. I think he's really going to see, as I said here, 84 targets, 66 catches, a very high receiving workload to move the chains on third down. When you have these crazy outside weapons that can stretch the field, and when they've been going so deep, defenses are so far back on their heels, Bernard's just going to get these little 6-yard catches all over the place for free. Nobody's going to be able to stay with this guy because they're going to have all the safeties deep, and he can still beat linebackers in his routes. I love Gio Bernard as a late-round stab. As I say, the highest-scoring Bucs running back at the cheapest price tag. I think between Fournette and Jones, nibbling each other's cheese all year. You never know if one of them fumbles and is in the doghouse for a couple of weeks. They're both. I love Jones as a player. I think he's a great runner. I wish he would get a full workload. I can't wait to see him escape Bruce Arians and finally get that. But until then, give me Gio Bernard and don't give me anybody else from this backfield.
All right, the wide receiver situation, fantastic. That's not new news.
Right.
You have them all getting comparable amounts of targets. For a while, you had them around the same, but I think you've branched out a little bit. I don't actually have the targets in front of me, but I got everything else. You got Evans at 81 catches for 1174, 12 touchdowns, and that puts him as your wide receiver 12 projection-wise. Antonio Brown, 71 catches, 845, 6 touchdowns. Got him as your wide receiver 43 projection wise, and then Chris Godwin 88 126 or 1126 10 touchdowns. That puts him as your wide receiver 16 on the big board. You got Evans 13, Godwin 17, Brown 40. I'm just going to say it. I think you're low on Brown.
I might be. I mean, and all the training camp reports are Brown is killing it. Like they might have the strongest rapport of all the receivers with Brady, and that's scary. I mean, what he did, I think when he came in last year. And then from then to the end of the season, he ended up finishing as like the wide receiver 19 or 20 over that span. And that's without time to practice and get the full, obviously practicing, but not getting the playbook fully down. And you have a full offseason to process it. It is a tricky situation in that sense. And if anybody's going to get hurt here, I don't think it's Evans. I think it would end up being Godwin because Evans, he saw 15 goal line targets last year. I think he'll always be that kind of red zone beast. He's always going to be a good threat for 12 to 15 touchdowns a season. His yardage might take a ding. He's had 1,000 yards in all 5 of his professional seasons. Maybe this is a year he finishes under. But to me, he just does what he does so well, and he's done it so well for every year of his career. Like, I trust that he'll still be that guy. I know Godwin's also great at the slot, and that's what Brady's historically loved. But so is Antonio Brown, and that's where it gets tricky. Is how does that end up getting shaken out? Is Antonio Brown still the AB of old? No, but he showed plenty of juice last year. We haven't really seen. There's a lot of games where like one of these receivers was missing last year, so it is tricky to judge how will it all be distributed now if all 3 of them stay healthy. It is a kind of a clusterfuck, but ultimately I find myself landing Evans a lot late round 3. I don't really land Godwin much at all because, like I said, I think he's the one that's the riskiest of this. And him and Evans go in the same spot. I have ended up with a lot of Antonio Brown round 7, 8 because, like you said, he has the upside to be the best receiver here. I don't think he is clearly with these projections, but that upside exists. So for round 8, like that's certainly like a lot of these guys because of the price. Bernard's the best target of the backs, even if I have him ranked lower. Terrace Marshall's the best of those Panthers receivers because of the price. I think Antonio Brown sneakily is the best receiver of the Bucs in terms of fantasy price and what could happen.
Yeah, I actually think I agree with that. I mean, you said he's not the Antonio Brown of old. He doesn't have to be. I mean, remember Antonio Brown of old was like all-time stuff. If he's 85, 80% of that, he's still just absolutely great. Yeah. And so we'll see what happens. I don't know. To me, wide receiver 40, I like him more than that, but hopefully other people value him around there too, and maybe I can get him on the cheap. Let's get into tight ends. These are guys I don't really think you want to play. Gronk, 43 catches, 559, 5 touchdowns. That puts him 20th on your projections, 19 on the big board. OJ Howard, been around forever, seems like. 32 catches, 448, 4 touchdowns, good for 27 and 30 on your boards, respectively. A lot of cheese nibbling.
A lot of cheese nibbling that. It's just a lot of tight end situations these days have a lot of cheese nibbling on each other. And that's what I see here. Gronk did okay last year, but that was no OJ Howard. He got hurt, in the first or second week. So Gronk will still have his big touchdown days. You'll see plenty of Gronk spikes. But I do think this is like running through the 3 receivers and then also the fact that Gio Bernard's now there. That might have been a lot of those third down targets that Brady would have gone to Gronk, someone he trusts. I could see a lot of that now shifting over to Gio Bernard. So not only are the 2 tight ends nibbling at each other, but the fact that Bernard's come there is just an even bigger rat chewing at the cheese. And so I don't like that at all. I'm not going on these tight ends. No way.
Gio Bernard providing even more reason to be less excited about the tight end situation.
Yes, exactly.
All right, that's going to do it for the NFC, whatever we just did.
South, yeah.
That's the NFC.
What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments, check out some more videos, and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.